Gonna go fun here with you, Steve Sipple, in the offseason. Your favorite Husker bowl game memory, and I want to say games you've covered, not games you watched on TV. So, naturally you'd be like, oh, the Johnny Rogers game of the century or something. No, games that you were a part of, the bowl coverage week.
You go ahead first.
All right. Well, I got two.
Okay, we both have two.
And my two.
You go ahead.
My two that really, for me, the 01 Rose Bowl, which was the 02 Rose Bowl in the 01 season, just because at that time, I mean, it was the pinnacle. I mean, Nebraska was in the national championship game. They had a year that season. They played Oklahoma, and Notre Dame.
That's right.
In Lincoln.
That's right.
Both were college game day games.
They played Oklahoma and Notre Dame in Lincoln
on college game day.
And Oklahoma was ranked what?
Yeah, it was like a 1 versus 2 or a 2 versus 3. It was like
something like that. Yeah,
it was basically a 1 versus 2 game. But just that season, that game, and I don't know, like it was a reality check though of how fast the table turned on Nebraska once college football had changed to kind of this pro recruiting influence. And I credit Miami with what they did on that team with Butch Davis and then Pete Carroll when they came into college football.
Yeah.
They changed college football to more of a pro kind of draft approach, development approach.
That was Butch Davis's recruits, but that was Larry Coker's
team.
Yeah. Coker was the coach, but Butch Davis put it
But
together.
they recruited and built that Miami team like a pro team. And then Pete Carroll did that at USC. And then Nick Saban started doing that at Alabama.
Yeah.
And that was different than how Nebraska had won. They didn't build teams that way. And it was a reality check that week. But just that game itself and seeing, 65,000 Nebraska fans in Pasadena.
Yeah.
It was 65,000 fans.
I know.
Out there.
And it's as gorgeous as it's cracked up to be. And now people don't want to hear us talk too much about that because you hear that all the time. But it is. I mean, you hear it all the time because Pasadena is gorgeous.
So
that setting is gorgeous.
This would have been, God, what year would this have been? 2019 in the summer. We were on the satellite camp trips.
Yeah.
It might have been 2019. We were at FIU. Butch Davis was coaching FIU.
Okay.
And didn't really talk to Butch. He wasn't real friendly.
He wasn't?
No. But
he was at FIU.
He was the head coach.
Yeah. And that's probably wasn't overly friendly.
Ken Dorsey was in between jobs, and he was like essentially the facilities AD for FIU. And he's taking us around, showing us stuff, and I'm thinking to myself, this is freaking Ken Dorsey. I said, Ken, I don't know if you know how much pain you put on Nebraska. Like that game, was
pretty painful. It was over at halftime.
Yeah, and it was, but the number of media that were there too. Like for me as a young reporter, it was eye opening just because that was a time where all the national media would travel.
Oh yeah, it was way different.
Way different time. And
yeah. What's your other one?
My other one was the 05 Alamo Bowl against Michigan.
Oh, interesting one. Why do you pick that one?
Because it was a lot of fun, and it was honestly a game Nebraska really had no business winning in terms of talent. Michigan was far superior, but you give Bill Callahan and Zach Taylor a lot of credit. They figured out a way to scheme Michigan and beat them. And, they kind of warmed down to speed and Taylor took a beating that game, and just the way that game ended.
Do you remember how the game ended?
Yeah. Zach Bowman, and Titus Brothers ran that guy out of bounds
after they were doing lateral after lateral, Michigan lateral. It's one of those deals at the end where you're like, oh, wait a second. Are they going to get this to the end zone? Remember that?
And Herb Street and Mike Tirico were the announcers.
Yep.
With Aaron Andrews. I mean, it was
you liked going to San Antonio, right? You liked the Riverwalk. Is that what you're trying to get to here? You like the Riverwalk.
It was, the Riverwalk was always a good time.
It was super fun. It's beautiful. I mean,
Nebraska fans, that was peak Nebraska fan. San Antonio, Riverwalk. I mean, they would take that place over.
Any Alamo Bowl was beautiful. Any of those was beautiful.
I hope with the reshuffling of bowl games, somehow the Big Ten gets back with the Alamo Bowl. But I fear that the SEC will just take it.
Great.
Because Oklahoma, A&M,
Yeah.
Missouri, Arkansas, Texas.
Sense. Makes sense.
They're the natural.
Yeah. That sucks. Because it was fun going down
so
there.
You could have an SEC Big 12 Alamo Bowl.
Those trips were fun. The Alamo Bowl is a fun bowl for fans because there's so much to do. And it's so nice.
And there's lots of hotels.
And it's nice out. You're wearing shorts. Okay, my two favorite, it's pretty clear. distinct differences. I mean, I'm not going to belabor the point too much of why the 96 Fiesta Bowl after the 95 season is my favorite.
Versus Florida.
Yeah, and it's partially, without going down memory lane, it was my first bowl that I covered. So it was that, but it was more than that. They won, obviously, but it was fun because I covered the Florida team a lot. I mean, I was kind of the Florida beat guy for the Journal-Star, so I got to know Spurrier. And it was fun getting to know Spurrier, going over to the practice. He'd make fun of me. It was that was sort of fun.
Stoops is on that staff, right? Or was
Stoops was a DC. Bob Stoops was the DC, if I'm not mistaken. I think that's the case. But anyway, the other thing that I'll always remember was calling back to our desk, Sean. This is Carl Vogel. If you're watching, he'll verify this. Kegler. I'd call back and say, "Hey, this is not going to be a game," and they'd be like, "You're crazy." I was like, "No, this is not going to be a game. Here's why." I'd say it. I'd go to those press conferences, and they'd bring in a linebacker that was like 6'1", 215, and they'd bring in a nose tackle that weighed 260. And I said, "This is not going to work. They don't have the size that can handle Nebraska's physicality up front. They can't. They're not going to be able to do it." I said, Nebraska will blow them out, which sounds really pathetic for me to say now after they won 62-24. But I knew Nebraska was going to win that game because they just were so much bigger and more physical.
And Bob Stoops didn't join the staff till the next year.
Thank you. Then the other one, and you're going to scoff, but I always say it's the independent sport. Here's why.
I knew you were going to say that.
Here's why, though. There's a reason. There's a good reason, actually. It was novel. It was a bowl. So I got used to going to these very nice bowl game trips where you're in, like when you went to, you referenced the 2001 Rose Bowl. I was in LA for 13 days. I was in Scottsdale for that Fiesta Bowl for 14 days. And you stay at these beautiful hotels and it's gorgeous. Everything's taken care of. You don't worry about a thing. Well, then all of a sudden, now you're in Shreveport. You're in freaking Shreveport and you're at a kind of a so-so hotel.
Why are you whispering?
And you go up to the stadium for the first practice as a beat writer, and players come out and thank you for being there. Jamal Lord, TJ Hollowell, and Darren Diedrich greeted me and Rich Kaipust and said, "Hey, we appreciate you guys coming." Because they probably thought as they were lifting these little weights in a little part of this little stadium, I don't even know if we're getting media coverage, but they did. And I'll never forget Jamal Lord, TJ Hollowell, and Darren Diedrich coming out and thanking us for showing.
You want to hear my Independence Bowl story that year?
Yes.
I went, and I didn't cover the week.
This was 2002.
Yeah, I covered the game and got down there early. I went with a friend, but I rode down with Vershawn. Vershawn Jackson rode down with us. And he had kind of,
why did he do that?
Well, he wanted to go.
Yeah.
And we were doing radio stuff back then at 1620.
When he was no longer on the team.
No, he's done. Yeah. And he was tight with guys on the team back then. And he had kind of like his car wasn't a car you'd take on the road trip. Kind of, it had the rims and stuff.
Right.
And he came and met me at my mom's house in South Omaha, and he parked, like we had to park the car in my mom's garage.
Oh, nice. You must have a nice car.
Oh, yeah. I mean, he's like, so my mom let him park it in the garage. We drove down. Vershawn was with me, and
who else?
A guy named Elliot.
Elliot. A guy named Elliot.
I went to college with, and
yeah,
it was like the three of us drove down to Shreveport together.
Yeah. And it wasn't the game wasn't good. Nebraska lost.
Oh, they should have won. That was they misread the signal on that fake punt.
I'm not saying the guy who threw it, but he made a decision on his own to throw it.
He audibled to a fake, and it wasn't there.
Right. He audibled. Yeah.
He
airmailed it. He airmailed the pass.
Like, he had the ability to make a check, and it's like one of those things. I'm guessing you never make the check.
He made the check, and then, if I'm not mistaken, he airmailed the pass. He threw a pass too high. So yeah, I remember the guy I was working with, one of the guys, Kurt McKeever, said, "We got to get to the bottom of this." And Kurt got to the bottom of it. It was a check. It was an audible.
Yeah, it wasn't called by the head coach.
No. And it hurt him.
Well, the other thing about that game was Steve Peterson's first day on the job.
It was.
And if you remember, he was up in that press box.
Yeah.
In Shreveport.
I mean, we're in Shreveport at this stadium after. See, what I was getting at is what were we the year before? We were in Pasadena at the Rose Bowl. So it was such a profound difference.
Going to Lakers games and Lowry's prime rib.
Yeah.
To like the highlighted trip for the players of the Independence Bowl was a tour of an Air Force base.
Yeah, and I didn't even do that, but it was just so much different than what I had been used to. All these big time bowls, and now you're at this it's a little stadium.
Did you finally part ways with the luggage they gave us?
I did that, but they gave us that bag,
a garment bag,
a leather garment bag that I had for years.
Oh, I mean, it was kind of like you were traveling with that thing for 20 years.
Right. It was beautiful. Black garment leather bag. It was beautiful. It was beautiful. Yeah. So no, I remember that. I remember that trip fondly. It was fun. Shreveport was interesting. That's an interesting town.
What freaked me out about Shreveport, because I had never been to Mardi Gras or any of that stuff, but how you could just like drink on the street out there.
You could drink guys would have a full can of Bud. Yeah.
It was open container.
Yeah, open container. Yeah.
And then the casino element was big. In that era, casinos weren't everywhere. And I remember Josh Brown, the former NFL kicker, he won like thousands of dollars on the craps tables.
Why am I not surprised at all on that one? Yeah, that again, the game wasn't particularly memorable. It was a Manning,
Archie was there.
Yeah, Archie, and come on, help me. So it wasn't Eli Manning was a QB. So I don't know. It wasn't that. It was such a, I guess it was because the pressure wasn't great. I remember the first day I was there, though, was when, correct me if I'm wrong on this, that's when they hired Pelini. I mean, it wasn't official, but it was basically official.
Archie was extremely.
Is that right? That would have been right. I think Pelini came into the picture at that
after
time.
After the NFL season, right?
Yeah. So that I
remember the bowl game would have been before the NFL season.
Well,
I don't think they hired Bo until the Packers were done.
But his name had surfaced.
Oh, and I was thinking Bo's name didn't come out till more January.
No, it surfaced.
December?
Yeah, it surfaced. Because I can remember being
down. Because the coaches clinic in January is when the hires got made.
I can remember being down in a cramped hotel room, kind of half pissed that I'm writing about Bo Pelini at this bowl game.
But yeah, you're right. Because when I talked to Barney Cotton this summer for the book.
For your book.
Barney said that Bo interviewed him at the coaches convention. That's the first time they had met.
So that was early January.
Yeah. So
So I know that's the way it went down. This was for defensive coordinator, though. Do you understand what I'm talking about? This wasn't Bo becoming the head coach. This was 2002.
After he had parted ways with Craig Bull.
Yes, after Frank had parted ways with. Yeah, and Bo's name quickly surfaced.
And the connection there was Monty Kiffin. Frank called Monty. Monty called Pete Carroll.
Yeah.
Pete Carroll recommended Bo Pelini, and then that's how the circle began.
Right. And I'm telling you, by the time Nebraska got to Shreveport to begin preparations, it was all but done, if not done, that Pelini was going to be the defensive coordinator. True story.
So a lot came out of that trip to Shreveport.
Those bowl trips were always very busy.
Well, and a lot of people, what people don't understand about a bowl trip is, we haven't been on one in a long time, but a lot of people come around.
Yeah.
Like you come to practice and you run into former players that you hadn't seen in a long time. That's like, I remember one year we're in Jacksonville and Rich Glover's at practice.
Right. There's a lot of that. It's just, we haven't done it in so long, and it's sort of disconcerting. Those bowl trips were great. They're great for the program.
They used to run like high school coaches clinics at the bowl practice. Remember that? All those coaches would come.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, they're great. I don't know. I hate to say this, but it's kind of a different time now.
Yeah, I mean, it won't be that way when they go back. It probably won't.
No, it won't.
Like, remember the Best Buy shopping sprees that they'd go on these bowl trips?
Oh, yeah.
I mean, does that even matter when you're getting NIL?
No.
Like, how excited those kids were to have $500 to spend at Best Buy.
Yeah. The swag. Yeah. The swag was a big part of it. Not now. It won't be.
Yeah. I don't even know if people do that bowl gift story anymore. Remember they used to always
yes, that was part of it.
But no, I know exactly what you're talking about. Like this year, I didn't see it.
Oh yeah. No, I don't think that's a thing anymore.
The bowl gift, NIL.
Yeah.
But all right. Well, we really
we're just two old guys reminiscing.
We just kind of went old guy, headlines here. But that's a fun way to talk in the offseason here. I enjoy doing that.
I do too. Those are, yeah, we'll do more of that.